everybody, and welcome to Create with Lorie. I'm Lorie and I'm the teen librarian at Manlius Library. And today I'm going to show you a really simple and super creative way to take a plain notebook and make it something fabulous. There's 2 steps to this. For the first step, you're going to need a notebook. Any notebook will do. These are just dollar store journals that I've got. You want to make sure they have kind of a hardboard cover. Okay, this is the one I'll be working with, but you can do this on any size notebook, any kind. You could take a journal if you want to make it fancy, anything like that, okay? And glue, hot glue to be specific, a hot glue gun and some glue sticks, and that's what you'll need for the first step. For the second step, you'll need some paints. I'm using acrylics, any colors that you want. I'm gonna fancy it up a little bit with some glitter paint, and I've got some colors that I like, an assortment of brushes, and you want plastic wrap or tin foil. I happen to have a box of foil sheets, so I'm going to use that. It's to protect the rest of the book from the paint when you're doing the second step. And then if you want a shiny finish on it, you'll want a can of clear coat. Okay, so that's what we need. Let me show you how we're going to fancy up our journals. Okay, here we are. I've got my notebook. I've got my glue gun, which has been heating up, and the glue is ready to go. This is a low temp glue gun. Kids, make sure you have parents or some adult supervision, or make sure they know that you're doing it. I got my glue sticks here. The first step to this is just adding texture or designs to your notebook cover. So I am just going to, let's see. Let's do a swirl. It takes some practice. Okay, it's not a bad idea to have a piece of paper on hand just for wiping off the tip of the glue gun. And keep an eye on your glue. As it gets lower, you can add another glue stick in, okay? It's not quite ready yet. So we're just gonna continue on carefully. Okay, so we'll put another glue stick in and maybe do a heart. The idea of this is just to have a 3D design on your book cover, or on your notebook cover. And you could do whatever design you want. You want to be careful, first of all, not to burn yourself with the hot glue, but also if you touch it before it's completely dry, you'll collapse your design. So we're just adding texture. Around the book. You can plan this out ahead of time. I'm just kind of free-forming it for the sake of video timing. You could also use other things to add other textures. Maybe you want some buttons in the corner. You just want to make sure that anything you're gluing down is glued completely. And keep in mind that all you're doing is really adding texture. You're adding a raised design to your notebook. So maybe we'll put those 3 buttons down there. And then maybe we want it to be magical. So we've got this chopstick, and I'm going to do a line here And maybe we'll put the chopstick. Hold that down, add some more glue. We can pretend it's a magical wand. Of course, wands aren't as smooth as chopsticks, so maybe we'll add a little bit of a rough design on top of that as well. Okay, so next step is to just let it dry completely. Make sure everything you've got glued is really glued on, and let it dry. That's the last you'll need of your hot glue. So you can put that away, but there's our notebook, and I'm just gonna let that dry. Okay, our book is completely dry. The glue is, well, it's gonna be a little tacky, but it's dry completely. You can push on it and the design doesn't go away. So now you can be endlessly creative. I'm gonna start by painting the whole entire thing with a coat of black. And you can see, I forgot to show you this, you can see that I've covered the entire book. I've wrapped everything I'm not painting in tin foil. You could use plastic wrap, you could use wax paper, I suppose. You could tape it right on there. But everything that I'm not painting, that way you can make sure that your pages don't get painted together and that you don't get paint on the back of it. So you just paint over it. You can do it in whatever design you want. So I'm going to cover this whole entire thing with black paint. And you want to make sure you get in all the little edges. Now, if you wanted these to not look like buttons, to just be designed, you could fill the holes with glue and let that dry as well. I'm going to leave them looking like buttons. Okay, so you want to make sure you get in all the edges with your paint. Okay, so I've got all the book covered in black. You could use whatever color you want. I want mine to have kind of a dark background. I'm going to be overlaying the other colors on top of it. The important thing is to cover everything completely. And so I've gone in through, you can see all up under, and it actually kind of looks like a magic wand already. And I've gone all in the buttons and up under. Now, we're gonna let this dry. If you want to speed up the process, you can use a hairdryer to dry it. I'm just gonna let it dry naturally. And then we'll come back and work on a second coat. One thing to keep in mind is your brush strokes. Especially for this first coat, they will dry just like the glue dried and leaves a pattern. Your brush strokes will dry and leave a pattern. So make sure that before your paint dries, you've got it looking exactly the way you want it to as you're going on. Okay, so we'll put this in water and let that rinse. I will let this dry. Okay, so here we have our book, and it's dry. There might be a few little spots in there, but it's dry. One thing I didn't mention is the brushes. I'm just using regular brushes, just the same paint brushes I use for all of our art projects, but you'll often hear me mention how we need to get the brush wet. We need to add water to the paint. In this case, for this project, you'll notice I'm not watering down the paint. I like to use a dry brush for this, and I like to use the thicker paints. The colors I'm using I don't have those in a thicker, but the black and white is the thicker paints. So now we just add some more color, or add some color. I'm gonna start with purple. And this is where you can get completely creative. If you want more of an antique, natural, maybe a bronzed or a pewter look, you're gonna want to start with black and then go either with layers of brown or layers of gray into silver for that, if you want it to have kind of a metallic. I'm just going kind of with a fantasy theme. So I'm just going to paint it on. And this is a much lighter coat. Not going to be real careful to get every spot. Some spots will be thicker, some will be thinner, and it's entirely up to your own imagination. As I was doing this, I was imagining it is my first notebook for wizard school. It's got my wand on it, and these are perhaps the spells I need to use. You'll see that the black paint really absorbs the color, and it's going to look almost antiqued. It looks like I've got a string there. I do. We'll get that off. Without washing my brush even, I'm gonna go right into the teal. And you'll see that as it dries, the black paint really absorbs a lot of the color, and it lightens it a lot. So let's take some white and mix in with the purple. And make more of a lavender color. We'll go in through there with that. You can see how where we put the glue, it's really textured. You could glue dried flowers onto your paper and make a gardening notebook. Or onto your cover, not onto your paper. Okay. And once you've got your colors the way you want them, you're going to let it dry again for any touch-ups, and then I'll show you final touches. Okay, I think I've got it the way I want it. Maybe add a few little touches here. Now I've gone with a dark color theme. You certainly don't have to. You could do rainbows and unicorns and mermaids and pastels and whatever your heart desires. Okay, so I think that's good. I'm gonna let that dry. We'll come back and I'll show you how to add a few maybe special touches to it. All right, second coat's dry. Now is the time to take a look at it and see if you want to add any color. You can see how the black paint that I used, the darker paint that I used, really absorbed the color nicely, so it looks very muted and kind of blended together. I like it. I'm going to leave mine the way it is, but if you have additions that you want to make to yours, now is the time to do that. Now is also the time to add special touches. If you have metallic paint that you want to use, or maybe you have some neons that you want to use, I have some glitter paint that I'm going to use. And it's just, this is a tempera, but it's a tempera glitter paint. And I am just going to make, maybe not that one. I'll start with this little brush. And I am just going to go along here. I'm just kind of going along here. To kind of highlight my textures. This is one of those awesome projects that there's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. I guess I should say there's every right way to do it and no wrong ways. Now, once you've got all your paint done, you want to let it dry completely before you do anything on the inside cover. So I'm going to actually let this set and dry overnight. If you want to speed it up, you can always use the hairdryer. Add your touches wherever you want them to be. And here's our finished product. It's dry now, so I've taken the tin foil off. At this point, if you wanted to lay it flat open, you could paint the inside cover. Just be really careful that your paint doesn't drip around to the outside, or to the outside on the front and ruin the hard work that you just did. You could also take that tin foil and wrap the rest of it up and do the same thing to the back cover if you wanted. And remember, I mentioned you could do this on a frame. You could do this on any kind of a book that you want to make the cover fancy. It's really kind of endlessly creative and a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed today's Create with Lorie. If you're a teen signed up for the Manliest Library Summer Reading Program, your secret code today is CASTLE. Capital C-A-S-T-L-E. CASTLE. Head on over to your account on Read Squared, either the website or the app, and click on the Create with Lorie mission and enter that secret code for your today's activity, to complete today's activity and get your extra points. If you're a teen in Central New York and you're not signed up for the Manliest Library Summer Reading Program, Teen Summer Reading Program, head on over to our website at manliestlibrary.org and get yourself signed up today. It's not too late. There's lots of reading, lots of activities, and some really fantastic prizes at the end of the summer. Thanks for joining me. I'm Lorie. I'm the teen librarian here at Manliest Library, coming to you from my bright green teen room. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Thursday. Happy reading.